everyone, thanks for visiting my YouTube channel NetSec. This is Johnny. In this episode, I'm going to show you a way to mount your Azure File Shares into your home computer without TCP port 445 crossing the internet. If you watched one of my previous videos, which shows you how to mount cloud virtual machines file share with the help of the load balancer to your home computer. In today's lab, since I couldn't use Azure File Share directly behind the load balancer, I'm gonna use Azure File Sync service with tiered file feature. In this kind of setup, the mounted file share will see all namespace stored locally at file share, but actual file content stored in an Azure file share. Now let's start the lab. Let's start with the steps I created in here. Totally, I put 7 steps for this lab. We're gonna create a storage account on the file share storage, create a VM, which we're gonna use to do file sync, and we also need to prepare the virtual machine for installing Azure File Sync Agent. After that, we're gonna create a Azure Storage Sync service, install Azure Sync Agent, and configuring Azure Server Endpoint Sync Group, enable tiered file feature. Last step is gonna mount Azure File Share to the local machine, even port 445 has been blocked. Creating a storage account. I already have a test storage resource group. I'm gonna put everything in that group to make it simple. We're going to use in standard performance. Local redundant storage is enough for this lab. I'm going to keep the default setting here, no change at all. In this lab, I'm going to start with a public endpoint. Later on, we're going to change it to restricted. So all other settings gonna keep as default. We also need to create a virtual machine. We're gonna allow port 445, so better for now we can keep it simple. Network disk. Since we're gonna use a file sync service, we have to use another actual disk. So that's the actual step here. We're gonna use in standard HDD. 32 GB is enough for our testing. So all other things will be basic. You're gonna need to load the balancer. We don't have any new public IP, so we're gonna create a new one. We don't have backend pool, we're gonna create a new one as well. You're gonna use an IP address. Usually it's 10.0.0.4 for your first virtual machine. We can take a look and make sure that IP is correct. We got the public IP. also private IP 10.0.0.4. So let's correct. And we need the load balancing rule. Using 445.5 and backend port will be 445. Health probe, we can create one. Since we don't have, we can use TCP 445. We need the load balancing rule name. We don't need any outbound rules. No tags, review and create. Perfect. Virtual machine is ready. We can log in. So we are trying to connect into our new created virtual machine using the RTP protocol. While it's loading, we can check the settings. So load balancer is ready. We have rules, front end, back end pool. Also load balancing rules ready. And storage account is ready. Virtual machines is ready. We're gonna create our storage sync service. No tags. Creating services now. Go to resources. This is our load balancer. We're gonna go back to storage account. Storage account is ready. We're gonna create a couple of file shares. Well, just need one. So we're gonna mount it into our virtual machine quickly to take a look. So right now you can tell it resolved to a public IP. Once we convert it to a private endpoint, then it will not have public access until you come in from a local virtual net. As you can see, it cannot reach. We're going to create our private endpoint. We're going to select networks. We're going to change it to restricted network access. It says 15 minutes to complete, but I doubt we should take that long. Anyway, we're gonna wait it, and once it's done, I will come back. It's actually completed in less than 1 minute. So we add that. Also, we add our client IP address to access it. That's for our firewall and the virtual networks. Once this step down, we can go back to here. It's successfully mounted, and right now we can test it connection. We should be able to see that is became public restricted subnet. So we are not using private endpoint, and we are using public endpoint with restricted subnet here. But we are able to mount it. As you can see, we are getting a new share drive here. Now we can create it our new share. There's a problem right now. Even with new share folder, we are not able to share it out as we do in our other drive. Like C drive, you can have share tab here, sharing tab. And we also need to, one more thing we need to do here, we need to get our disk management up and running. We have a new disk, need to mount it. 32 gigabytes. We're gonna format it, assign a new drive F, finish it. So in this new drive, we're gonna create a folder, call it sync folder, and eventually we're gonna share it out. So our target is we are gonna mount this sync folder to the local home devices, which is our Windows 10 local machine, and there's no port 445 which we cannot directly mount it. We have to use load balancer to transfer the port 4455 to 445, and then we can use the port 4455 to cross the internet. So far we finished most of step from 1 to 4. We're gonna start into configure Azure Sync Agent. So we're gonna create a storage sync service. We're gonna use a resource group, test storage. We're gonna call it sync Creaet. Okay, that deployment completed. We have our sync service 1 here. Now we're gonna create a sync group. Sync group 1. We're gonna select our storage account, and we are having File Share 1, so we're gonna use that in our sync group. That File Share 1 gonna be synced to our virtual machines F drive sync folder. That's what we're gonna configure. We already created a sync group. In sync group, we need to add a server endpoint. We need to add a cloud endpoint. We need to add a server endpoint as well. Right now, we only have cloud endpoint. We don't have server endpoint since we don't have any registered server. So that's our steps. We need to download the sync service agent and install on our virtual machine. We don't have any registered servers yet, but we need to download Azure File Sync Agent from this link address. Gonna click local server. We're gonna disable our IE enhanced security configurations here. After that, we're gonna go to download link. For Azure File Sync Agent. We are running 2019, so let's download the file we need. So now we are installing Storage Sync Agent. This wizard here, I accept the terms. We're gonna use in this folder. using the existing proxy settings, using Microsoft Update, or we are keeping as simple as we can, so all configuration will be the default settings. We are waiting the setup wizard finish the installation. After a couple of seconds, the installation completed. Click finish. So agent has been launched. Click OK. So it will come up a server registration window to let you register this server. So let's sign in. So we're going to choose our Azure subscription, and we're going to choose our resource group. Also, we're going to choose our storage sync service. Then we're going to register this server under that storage sync service. So registration successfully. Once that step done, you can go back to your just registered servers page and refresh it. Then you should see this test storage server is online. Once you see it online, go back to sync group to finish the configuration sync group settings. So we already have cloud endpoint. Then we need the server endpoint. We add it here at the server endpoint. There's a register server here. We need the path. So they need to know where to sync the data on your local virtual machine, which is the one we created on F drive sync folder. So I'm gonna copy this whole folder into the path F drive sync folder. Here is the most critical part. I would say we need to enable cloud tiering. Why we need that? The reason why we want our mounted share folder has list all files, but we don't want those files stored on our virtual machine. We want it to be stored still on the Azure File Share, but our remote machine will be able to mount that share folder and see all files and then fetch it. So that is controlled by cloud tiering. We want to put 99 here. That means we want to keep 99% free space in that disk. So we enable that 99, put here, and then create. So now we already finished most of settings. We need to verify the port if it's opened. If you look at our virtual machine, we haven't opened the port yet on the port 445. The port has been closed because it's not open. So what we're gonna do is gonna create in a rule to allow it. TCP 445 and port 445. Okay, 445 has been added in. Let's take a check again. It may take a couple minutes to get that port open. Yeah, you can tell port 445 is open. How about our load balancer? Is load balancer also open? So we can test it. So load balancer is opened only on port 4455. So let's test it 4455. It's also opened. Everything is ready from now. Step 1 to 6. Before we can test it, we need to mount this Azure File Share to local machine, which we're gonna use our VMware to do that. This is the virtual machine I used in my previous lab to mount Cloud VM's File Share even without port 445 opened over the internet. And my ISP blocked the port 445. So we're going to test it our 4455 since 445 doesn't work, and we are using load balancer to translate port 445 to the 4455 to the 445. So we're going to test 4455 here. While it's testing, we're going to check a couple of services. So there's some requirement to run NetSec command. So we need to have dependencies IP help services. We need to create loopback interface with proper configuration there. If you haven't watched my previous video how to mount a Cloud VM Share without port 445, please take a look. Here is the link, and you will find it from my video description as well. So all has been set up, and the port 445 are good to go. I'm gonna copy paste the command in, so you will find all commands from my blog post. I need to run PowerShell as administrator. Now we're gonna check the port 445. So 445 hasn't been ready yet. We need to reboot once we issue the let command NetSec interface port proxy command. Let's reboot the machine, and I will come back once it's completely reboot. System has been rebooted. Now we can take a look at the port number again. Now you can see we are listening 10.255.255.1, which is our loopback interface IP. Now we should be able to mount it. This is from my old connection. You can tell the share folder name is different, so we can ignore that. Add a new network share. Still start from 10.255.255.1, and we're going to browse to it, and then we should be able to see that share folder, and then we can mount to it directly. In this folder we configured cloud tiering, which means whatever you saved here, it might just a link, and the real content will be saved in the cloud, which is your Azure Cloud File Sharing folder. It will not use your hard drive space on your Cloud VM. Your Cloud VM is just a temporary name or link storage for your file sharing files. So that is all I want to show you today. Hopefully you find the video has something interesting and useful to you. Please give me a thumb up if you like it. If you haven't subscribed my channel, please do. See you in my next video.